Hi Leo, this is Mimi with Divination by Mimi. Welcome to your January 1st through the 15th, 2018 tarot reading with a little bit of astrology and oracle if necessary. So your ruling planet is the sun, you're a fixed sign, and you rule the 5th house, about creativity, about self-expression for the sake of expressing the self, not to earn anything back or not to gain love or to gain money, but just to express for the value of self-expression in and of itself. And as I said, you're fixed, so you tend to be stayed. When you make a decision, you're pretty much stuck to the decision. It's hard to waver you from that decision. And fire is your ruling element. It's very motivated, and you're the king of the jungle, or queen of the jungle. You are the leader, the initiator. Even though you're not a cardinal sign, you are the one to put yourself up front. You're the one that tends to be the center of things. And that makes sense. The sun is your ruling planet. It is the center of the solar system. Everything literally does revolve around it. So when people make fun of you and say, you act like the world revolves around you, well, actually all the planets revolve around me. So go. So I wanted to go over some astrological aspects before we get into your reading. Firstly, there is a full supermoon in the 4th house, sign of Cancer, at 11 degrees. 11 degrees is 11 is the master number of service, whether you intend it to be service or it's service by default. It serves others in some way. And there's some lovely trines that occur on this day. So there's the full supermoon. It's a supermoon, meaning it's close to the earth and it's very amplified, very magnetic, powerful. There's also 2 lovely trines, one with the moon and Venus and Neptune, and one with the moon and Venus and Venus and Mars. So let's start with Mars. Mars is in the 8th house. 8th house is Scorpio's house, house of death and sex and other people's money, so to speak. But it is also about relating to getting along in the relationships we've created. So the 7th house tends to be about, Libra's house tends to be about what we find attractive in other people. Usually it's unresolved issues in ourselves. That's a different subject. But the 8th house is about how you work, how you get on through life with the decisions you've made in those relationships. Okay. And in addition to that, it's about death, and it's about the shadow work. It's about the deep, dark stuff, the unexposed stuff that tends to motivate us. So that's a wonderful, I'm sorry, I got off track. That trine is wonderful because, as I said, Cancer, I may not have said this, but Cancer rules the 4th house. It is the mother of the zodiac, but it's the house of relating to family and to intimate relationships, romantic relationships. Mars in Scorpio, about sex, and Mars being kind of the archetypal male, not gender, but energy, the archetypal male energy, tends to be about sex drive as well. So as it relates to relating, Venus trining the moon in Cancer, full moon amplified as a big moon, trining as well, making an aspect to Mars, the sex drive in kind of the sex area, you might find things about relating. Okay, Venus is about relating. Things about relating to those that you love, intimate relationships or family relationships, but more so romantic, intimate relationships. With Mars here, it kind of means that it could manifest a couple ways. It's action oriented. So the expression of the love or the relating that you feel with your intimate partner might manifest in sex, in really good sex. That's great. It also might manifest in action that you take. So let's say you've been dating someone for a while. You might actually decide to take the plunge and ask that person to marry you. That kind of thing. So it's action. The other lovely trine is with Neptune. So that's Venus, the moon, and Neptune in a trine. And remember, trine is 120 degrees. It's a very harmonious aspect, like a hug and a kiss. So when this trine occurs, it has to do, of course, with relating, but it also has to do with relating to the self as a whole being. So there is a body, a mind, and a spirit, but it's actually all the whole being. You really can't disconnect one from the other. When Neptune is making a lovely trine like this, and it is direct in its home sign of Pisces, this is basically like your antenna for psychic energy and information and downloads being on full force. It's being completely open and available for information. So pay attention to symbols you see, songs you hear, archetypes that keep repeating themselves. Like, let's say you're continually being shown a Superman archetype or a superhero type of archetype. Look into that. What does that mean? Check your dreams. What songs are you hearing? What signs on the road are you seeing? What things are popping into your mind? These are the messages. These are the communications from higher consciousness, from our collective higher consciousness to us in our conscious world, and they can expedite, they can exacerbate and expedite growth, spiritual, physical, mental growth, tremendously. So pay close attention. The other aspect of concern and note is that Uranus, which has long been in retrograde in the first house of Aries, is finally going direct around the 17th, I believe. And this is big. You've already seen a lot of Uranus's energy on the world stage. Uranus's unexpected changes, revolutionary changes. This manifests itself geologically in natural disasters, fires, storms, earthquakes, unexpected changes, shaking things up. But also, Uranus is a revolutionary idea. So this is things like the protesters at the J20 event, or the move in Catalonia for independence, things like that. It is also progress, technological, scientific, intellectual progress. And it's very often, more often than not, about the collective, 11th house, about everyone. So not just good for one person, not just good for a few person, but good for everyone. That's the idea. So this might manifest itself in big protests, sudden changes in power structure. So watch on the 2nd of January on into the month and see what happens in the news. It should be interesting. Now, there are other aspects occurring. This is a month where we actually have 2 full moons, and of course a new moon, as well as the full moon I just mentioned at the beginning of the month. So I'm going to get into those later in the month, on the second half of the month's readings for you guys. So I won't cover them now. I did want to thank everyone for subscribing and for liking the videos, especially if they helped you, and for sharing them if you think they might help someone else. If you'd like to book a personal reading, something very specific to you, feel free to email me at mememes@hotmail.com. You can find that email address in the description box below the video. And also, if you have questions or you'd like to leave a comment, leave them in the comment section below the video. I wanted to thank you also. Thank you for those who have booked readings with me, that have entrusted me in your decision-making milestone life processes. It means the world to me that you've entrusted me to bring me into your life in such a way, and it makes me happy that we're co-creating our existences together. So thank you. And I think that's it. So let's get into your reading. I'm going to do a 4-card pull, Leo. This is based upon concepts of something that's on your mind, or a concern that you have, or a situation you find yourself in. This could appeal to all Leos, slightly varying in energy, but to all Leos because the energy might apply, or it could be for 1 or 2 specific Leos. Take it as it comes. If it doesn't resonate, it wasn't meant for you. So the first card will be for that. There's a positive part of it, there's a negative part of it, and then a overall advice that's provided. I'm using the Thoth or the Tahuti deck. Let's get going. This is for Leo. Fixed, fire sign, ruler of the 5th house, ruled by the sun, center of the universe, king and queen of the jungle, for January 1st through the 15th, 2018. What's going on with Leo, our lions, for January 1st through the 15th, 2018. For Leo, January 1st through the 15th, 2018. Holy Hecate. What insight can you give to Leo about a situation or a concern that they have in their life right now? What's on Leo's mind, and how can we shed some light on it? O cosmic soul, mother, titaness, creatrix of the universe, God. What does Leo need enlightenment on? What guidance for Leo for January 1st through the 15th, 2018? Thank you. Oops. That was too many. You got the Temperance card, Samek, the Sagittarian card, This is definitely where the magic and manifestation happens. Blending of two opposite concepts, turning lead into gold. Let's see. There's something you're trying to manifest in your life. This is major arcana, meaning it's karmic, so it's going to happen one way or another. And this is what you're focused on. Your mental energy is right here. What's a positive thing about this manifestation? Like, thank you. Wow, 2 major arcana. This is big for you. This is the Devil card, the Saturn card, IN, the I. So this is not what you think about the devil. It is about Saturn more so than anything. And Saturn's concepts are about structure, the limitations of the three-dimensional world, of the manifested world, and about discipline. Okay? It's Capricorn's card. So these are life lessons, karmic lessons that you're taking on right now. So whatever goal that this magical working you're doing is for is a worthwhile and karmic growth goal. Discipline is the positive aspect. You have been focusing on this logically, with passion, but with prudence as well. Think Capricorn and think Saturn. Three-dimensional world. The facts, ma'am, just the facts, right? So, you're dealing with what you have. You're using the tools that you have to the best of your ability. You're checking all of the details. You're putting the work in. Saturn loves you putting the work in. So far, you know, the god of karma, Saturn, is liking how you're going about making this manifestation happen. Negative. Another major arcana. Wow. The Hanged Man in reverse. Mem. Water. Are you getting sanctimonious? Are you becoming judgmental? There's a word I'm trying to think of that relates to this. The warning and the negativity about this aspect that you're doing right now is there is a what's the word? Self-righteousness about it. I don't know what the goal is, but the negative aspect in the goal at the moment is a tendency for self-righteousness and a tendency for, when there's a tendency for self-righteousness, I wouldn't say it's fear-based, but it's finality, meaning if you're at a point where you're feeling self-righteous, then you're kind of at a point where you feel you know it all, that you have all of the facts, and none of us ever do. Remember the 7 Kemetic principles. Everything changes. Nothing stays the same. Everything vibrates. Okay? So the important thing to remember, and I'll go for overall advice here. That's the final card, but the tendency here that's negative, probably because of the hard work and discipline you've put into this, is a tendency to self-righteousness. Slight arrogance and know-it-all kind of self-righteous, sanctimonious attitude that can be, I'm not saying that's what is happening, but that's a tendency that can happen, especially when you do put the work in and you sacrifice. Yeah. So the overall advice, knowing that there can be a tendency to self-righteousness, to judgmentalness, to sanctimoniousness, to arrogance. Thank you. Huh. Am I reading this right? I'm sorry, I need my glasses. Excuse me. So the overall advice is sorrow, the 3 of Swords. So swords, and this is the only minor arcana that you have. I'm going to get clarification. I think I might need clarification on that, and I'll get that from another deck. So swords are mental energy. They are communications, they are thoughts, ways of thinking, ways of being, but really mental processes, ways of going about things, ways of conceptualizing things. With 3, an unharmonious number, an uneven, imbalanced number, it can lead to sorrow. This is the card in the Rider-Waite-Smith that is the heart in the rain with 3 swords piercing it. Kind of the indication of pain and sorrow and heartbreak, right? With some cruelty. At first glance, I would say, because the warning is sanctimonious, judgmental, self-righteousness, be careful. The overall advice being be careful of how you express yourself as you're going about this goal, as you're going about turning your lead to gold. Okay, doing everything you're supposed to, right? Working hard, making the sacrifices, being warned not to be self-righteous and sanctimonious and arrogant about it. The overall advice is to watch your communication so that they're not too cutting. I'm going to get some further clarification on that from the Rider-Waite-Smith, Universal Rider-Waite-Smith. Hecate, can you please explain the 3 of Swords? What does this mean for Leo, January 1st to the 15th, 2008? Whoa, damn. Yeah, so you got the Queen of Swords in reverse, Libra. And her Queen of Swords in her low octave is cutting and cold, which you might do if you approach, you might be that way, and you might communicate in hurtful, jabbing, judgmental, self-righteous, sanctimonious ways, because in your mind, to make this happen, you're doing everything you're supposed to. You're being a good boy or girl or undecided person. Good person. You're doing everything you're supposed to. You're following the directions. You're making the sacrifices, putting the work in, and that's great. But again, with the warning to not be self-righteous and judgmental and arrogant and sanctimonious. With that is a tendency to communicate in barbs. Well, if you haven't done the work, I have no compassion for you. You might have goals and you might want to turn lead into gold as well, like I do. But if you're not willing to do the work, then I have absolutely no compassion for you. And your words might reflect that lack of compassion, that self-righteous way. Be careful of your words and your thoughts. Swords, this is the Queen of Swords and the 3 of Swords. These are thoughts and words. Usually words are manifested thoughts, right? Careful how you communicate, but more importantly, careful of your perspective. Remember, no matter how much work you've done, you're still learning. We're all learning. We're all one. And the person that you might be communicating roughly to or lacking compassion to is really you in reflection. It's the mirror of you. Because remember, we're all one. So I hope that made sense. Your goal, your manifestation of gold from lead, Samak, is worthwhile. You're doing everything you're supposed to. Watch out about being self-righteous and sanctimonious because you're doing everything you're supposed to. And watch out for lacking compassion for those who may not know how or may not have the energy to do it. And be careful of the words and the way that you express your feelings to others in your life as you're manifesting your goals. Particularly your thoughts, because remember, thoughts become things. Make sure your thoughts are not sharp, cold, jagged, non-compassionate, not warm thoughts. That's not a Leonian trait. A Leonian trait is warmth, tiferet, from the heart, joy, love, creativity, pure love, agape love. That's Leo. Okay, I hope this helped, Leo. If you have questions, leave them in the comment section below the video. If you would like a personal reading, something a little more geared toward you, feel free to email me at mememes@hotmail.com. You can find that email address in the description box below the video. Or if you have comments or questions, leave them in the comment section below the video. And I think I just repeated myself. Otherwise, I will see you at the second half of the month or for the lunations. Yeah, that's it. Okay, you take care.